More advanced Master Manager. This is what I find to be the hardest part about Master Manager is kind of thinking about how you want your standards or objectives or learning targets, whatever you want to call them, for your assessments. Is actually creating these things. Master Manager uses the term standards. Um, the standard is kind of like what is the score the student needs to reach mastery of a specific learning target. I know it's a lot, so just bear with me. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to go into standard categories and notice how these are kind of like the classes, right? So I think of the standard categories as what is going to be the objectives for that class. So instead of creating a new one, I'm just going to edit a category I already created. If I can get there. So I have a lunch and learn category. I want to edit this category. Okay. Notice I have 4 levels here. Okay. I can add another level if I want to. And this is kind of like the achievement for each level. So level 1, if I want you to achieve kind of mastery of that specific target in that specific class, you just score 85% or higher. This could actually be like 15 questions that address kind of this standard that students need to score 85% or higher in order to reach mastery for that class. So down here, this is where you're actually going to kind of set up like subunits for each category. So my levels I have for my subunits or for my substandards are I have a unit level. So I do like, scientific method for a unit, standard level. I might know all the parts of the scientific method. And one target for that standard could be I can write out a hypothesis. Okay, so you can have 15 levels, you can have 1 level here, whatever the case may be. This will kind of depend. The more in depth you are here, the more data you'll be able to pull later. I'm going to hit update groups there. All right, so now I have set up that category. I've set up my class, which I want to put standards into. Go back to setup. I want to add a standard to that category. I go to lunch and learn, hit next. So which level of the standard would you like to add? Do I want to add to the unit level, the standard level, or the target level? I'm going to add to the unit level right now. So I'm just going to call that unit 1. I can put unit 1 and everything, makes it easier for me. The subject is going to be technology. I'll save the unit there. I'll hit finish. I'll say I want to add another standard to that unit. So unit 1. So standard, or here actually put all the parts of the thing. Copy and paste that for user purpose. Save that standard. Finish that. And if I go down to the target, right? So what is the target? Nope, I don't want that one. I want this target here. So what is the target I want my students to know for reaching all the parts of the scientific method? So target is I can write a hypothesis. Now for ease of purpose, I'm going to put that in the description too. And save that target. Okay. So now if I hit finish, say I want to add another level. Say I want to add, I have units, standard target. Say I want to add a second unit for this class. So I'm going to add a standard. I'm going to call it unit 2. These are purposes here. I like to keep everything the same. I'm going to save that unit. I'm going to hit finish. I want to add a standard to that unit. So do I want to put that standard in unit 1, or do I want to put that standard in unit 2? So a unit might be, identify cause and effect. Save that standard. I'm going to hit finish. I'm Let's say I want to add a target to that standard in that unit. Target is I can identify one cause and effect. Save that target. All right, so I'm finished with those. I added 2 units, or I added 2 units. I added a couple standards to each unit. Go back to setup. If I want to just see edit or delete the standards, just to review my work, lunch and learn, all view standards. So I have unit 1. Notice how I kind of messed up here. I know all the parts of this. I should be done. I know all the parts of the scientific method. And one of the targets in a unit is that I can write a scientific method. Notice it's very confusing, but like I said before, you can have 16 things up here. You can have unit, standard, target. Let me show you a really good example of what this kind of work looks like. If I go setup, if I go list standards, I'm going to go to AP Psych, give you a better idea of what you're looking at. View all the standards there. Notice he has each unit labeled. He has the standards labeled and the target for each standards. So kind of the more organized you are, the better off you'll be. And then once you have those all done, in the next video, you can attach these standards to each question in an exam. So for example, Mr. Sofer, he had questions 1, 2, 6, 7. He had 7 questions that were attached to that first target. Okay. He had 5 questions that were attached to a second target or second standard. 11 questions attached to that standard right there. So it's kind of like he went really in depth, so he was able to pull out really, really good information. Lastly, with that in mind, if you want help with that, just contact me, because that's more of a summer curriculum project to put those all in.